Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about my ex came back after dumping me. Okay, so in this kind of situation, what would this look like? What would it look like when your ex has come back after they have dumped you? Okay, so the first thing that you will probably notice from your ex when they've come back and they've broken no contact, and after dumping you, basically, they come crawling back. This is what you'll see. Okay, so you'll either get a direct message from them, a phone call, or they physically approach you. Okay, so that's how you'll know if your ex is starting to regret that they have dumped you. And this is especially more clearer though for those people that don't have kids with their ex or don't work with their ex, because sometimes your ex may need to approach you if they work with you, may need to directly message you about something to do related to work or related to the kids. Okay, so if you don't have kids and if you don't work with them, then this is a really, really good sign that they may want you back, right? So, and the reason why it's a direct message or a direct phone call or they actually start approaching you is because you shouldn't really take any of the other things that they may do seriously, like if they unblock you, for example, or if they add you, or if, obviously these are good signs as well, but they're not necessarily signs that they want to get back with you. Another sign, that isn't really anything is if they like things on social media that you've posted, or they comment on things, or they like your tweets or retweet your tweets or anything like that. The only thing you should take seriously is a direct message, a phone call, or they physically approach you, okay? So if, for example, it is someone that you work with, your ex is someone that you work with, or you have kids with them, a good sign that they are maybe thinking about getting back together with you, is if they are just inquiring about you. They're not talking to you about anything kid related or anything related to work. Okay? So this may look like something like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? Right? And they've got nothing added on to that is about the kids or about work. Now, it may be the case that they may say something like, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? And you reply to that and you say, what have you been up to? How have you been? And then they say something work related, and then you'll be like, aha, that's what they really wanted to talk to me about, but they just wanted an icebreaker. So it could be that happens. So you may need to dig a little bit when they first message you if you've got kids or if you work with them, because perhaps they're just reaching out to you, having a tiny little conversation, and then they're asking you about the kids, and you get to the real thing about what they wanted you to do. Like perhaps, can you please pick up Jimmy from football practice tomorrow? Or can you send over this to our boss or something like that if there's someone that you work with, okay? So then you'll get to the root of it. But if they're just inquiring about you and they're just being chit-chatty with you and they're only asking about you, about your life, about what you're doing, about what you're up to, and it never leads to, can you do this thing for me, right? Because of the kids or because of a work-related situation, then that's a really good sign if they're just inquiring about you and they're just asking about you, what you're getting up to. And it seems like that they want to keep the conversation going, that they're really trying to, offer the olive branch. So one of the things that I noticed when an ex wanted to get back with me was she re-added me on Facebook. So I was like, okay. So I accepted because I didn't really care back then. And then she messaged me saying, hey, how are you? And I was like, oh, I'm doing good, thanks. How are you? And then it got to a point where we was actually almost arranging to hang out and meet up with each other again. And then I realized I didn't actually want to get back with this girl because she had a lot of issues that I wasn't comfortable with. Like she was a compulsive liar. So for example, an example of what happened was she told me a story about, and she told it where there was lots of punchlines in it and things like that. And she then told me the same story a week later, and it was exactly the same punchlines, but it was about different people entirely. And I was like, this is really strange. So she was basically a compulsive liar. I couldn't tell what was true, what was real. And I decided, you know what, I don't actually want to start meeting up with this girl again because I just didn't want to, basically. It just wasn't right for me. And I didn't feel comfortable being with someone who could lie like that, right? So, but that's an example of how it sort of went, how she was breaking no contact with me. She wanted to get back with me, and she was, asking about how I was. She got to a point when she was asking we should hang out again and things like that. That's what you've got to look out for. That's a really good sign that your ex wants you back and wants to meet up with you and wants to see you. Okay. Anything else, like where they're talking about work or talking about the kids, it's probably nothing to do with them wanting to get back with you. It's just that they just want to talk about work or talk about the kids. Okay. But if then you don't work with your ex, or you don't have kids with your ex, then them directly messaging you saying, hey, how are you? What have you been up to? Something along those lines is going to be really, really good. And it's a really, really good sign that they want you back. I highly recommend that if you really are intent on getting your ex back, then listening to the audio that I made on how to get your ex back. If that's something that you've already watched on my channel, I highly recommend that you watch it again, because sometimes when we read or watch something or listen to something for the first time, we don't have that information automatically ingrained into our brains. So if you go over it and watch it over and over and over again, you'll start to retain the information a lot better. Okay, so I highly recommend that you do that. So if you do start hanging out with your ex again, you got to be skeptical. Okay, because remember, they dumped you. Okay. They should be earning you back, right? Don't just give them everything like how, don't just go back to how it was. Just date them for a while and kind of test the waters, because usually your ex is an ex for a reason, and usually 9 times out of 10 it's not best to get back with your ex, okay? Because all of the issues that were there are still going to be there when you get back together. So if you weren't happy in that relationship, and the best way to know that is if you look back on the last month or 2 before you broke up. If there was a lot of arguments, if it was really sad, if you felt really bad about yourself, more than likely nothing has changed, right? So if you do get back with them, those things are just going to end up happening again, okay? So that's something that you really need to take into consideration, and which is why it's important to be skeptical, okay? So be very, very, very skeptical, okay? So do not look back on this relationship with nostalgia, because sometimes that's what people do. They don't look back on the last couple of months where it was really difficult. They look at the beginning of the relationship when it was really good. And that basically keeps them stuck, right? And that's something that I did when I was in a relationship with a woman that cheated on me. I was with that woman for a year, and basically the reason I kept on going back was because I kept on thinking about the little honeymoon period within the first couple of months where everything was really good, and I thought we could get back to that, right, and get back to that. And in fact, I just remember just thinking back a lot on the first day we met, and just because really the relationship was not that great all the way through. So I would think about the first day that we met and the first date that we had a lot, because I really enjoyed that day, and it felt really good. But that didn't last, right, at all, basically. Within the first month, basically, she was saying things like, oh, what would you do if I cheated on you, and things like that. And that was like a big red flag, but I ignored it because I just kept on thinking about how great it was when I first met her and things like that. So you live and you learn. So don't be nostalgic, be skeptical, date them for a while, like how you would do at the beginning of a courtship, where you see each other once a week, right? Do that sort of thing for a while. See if anything's changed, and then if you do get back together and start living together again, or whatever your situation was, again, stay skeptical for a while until you feel like things have actually improved, right? Maybe even go to couples counseling or something to try and solve these issues. Okay, you may need some extra help with that. Okay, so it's important that you keep in your mind that your ex is an ex for a reason. And I know that's a cliche saying, but sometimes the reason why we have cliche sayings is because there is an element of truth to it, okay? So just keep that in mind, and be very, very careful with getting your ex back, and when your ex comes back into your life, because more than likely nothing has actually changed, and you're just going to fall back into those old habits that may not have been good for you to begin with. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you would like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. And if there's anything you'd like me to discuss in a future video, then please leave it down in the comments. See you again very soon, guys. Goodbye.